Wij gaan kijken wat een aantal bedrijven in onze buurt, in Nederland en daarbuiten, hebben ontwikkeld. And I'm going to switch to English now because our first speaker is actually based in Vienna. His name is Arno Scharl and he's going to present the webLyzard technology. He's been working on a big project that looks at what is happening online, how can we analyze this in a very smart way, and I'm losing my sound here. Using my hands too much. And how can we analyze everything that's happening, and what can media companies do with this? Arno, the floor is yours.
So welcome everyone, and good afternoon from Vienna. My name is Arno Scharl from webLyzard's technology, and I'd like to take the next few minutes to present you Topics Compass. Topics Compass is a visual analytics dashboard that we developed together with Modul Technology and other European partners in a research project funded by the European Commission called REtv. And the idea of the system is to aggregate the public debate from a variety of online channels. So we ingest news media, we ingest various social media platforms, we take the content from stakeholder websites and also the content from archives such as Europeana. It's a multilingual system, so it's available in for English, French, Dutch, German and Spanish content. The overall process after ingesting all this content is to detect emerging stories, to enrich these stories with automatically extracted metadata, and then provide various means to analyze this extracted knowledge along all these metadata dimensions. There are various ways to access this information. So there are simpler ways like a mobile interface, PDF reports, email alerts. What I'm going to show you today is our most advanced application that targets professional stakeholders, which, if I'm starting with this little demo here, this is the type of clustered representation of emerging news stories you might be familiar from other news services. And we have two clusters here. One is the whole coverage here is on coronavirus. The first cluster is 937 articles on social distancing and quarantine, and we have another one that's more talking about the economic stimulus package. The system, however, goes much beyond this textual representation. It provides a visual means to track the unfolding of the stories, how dominant they are, how long they stay in the public debate. It provides additional visualizations. For example, here, this is a tag cloud that's color-coded by sentiment, green for positive, red for negative terms. And it embeds all these visualizations in this visual analytics dashboard with a lot of user controls on the timeline of the analysis, on the various sources, various types of meta attributes. And what is already obvious on this left side, it's not only sentiment, negative, positive, and neutral, but we can also visualize specifically human emotions. So these are 24 human emotions, and the analyst is able to track exactly what the public debate is focusing on in conjunction with COVID-19, but with specific emotional categories. For example, we have here vigilance, fear, anticipation, and acceptance. So anticipation, for example, it's quite obvious that people are talking about vaccines, about possible therapies, in the hope that there will be a solution found soon. And I would like to take this opportunity to switch briefly to a 1-minute video to not only show you static screenshots, but also to get you a bit of a feel how the interactive features of this dashboard work. And here are some of these automatically extracted associations: lockdown, quarantine, intensive care, FOCI. There are keyword graphs to track these associations, to see what the debate is focusing on. There are interactive drill-down mechanisms to look how the term is used in the debate. There's a word tree to visualize this, to visualize the lexical context. It can be color-coded again by sentiment, and we can take a look how this discussion unfolds in the chosen source. The user has the option to do a source analysis, which are the most dominant sources in the coverage that can be visualized, and also, for example, the opinion leaders, which are the persons referenced in the public debate, and which facets of the coverage are being associated with them. So this is just a little preview of what can be done. Of course, today we only have a few minutes, so it's by no means meant to be a full introduction to the dashboard. But now what were the goals of our REtv project? So based on this visual analytics dashboard, the goal of REtv, which targets media professionals and other stakeholders from various industries, is to provide success metrics, to be able to compute content-based KPIs and track the coverage that goes beyond what's currently available with other platforms. And one way to do so, we adopt the Wisdom success metric, which you can see a little diagram down there. And now our ability to extract all these emotions from the coverage, not only positive, negative, but also the association with desired and undesired associations, as per the communication goals that you have with a channel, with a program, but also with a brand, can be now shown in conjunction with audience metrics. So in this case, we have the positive, negative coverage and the association with desired and undesired terms. But at the same time, we see the website traffic in terms of page views and visits. And as part of the REtv project, we are currently extending this and overlaying this with the viewer data of TV programs. So this is one example we did last year on the last season of Game of Thrones, where we can also see the desired and undesired associations and how they're evolving with each episode that has been broadcast. Now, this is a good example of visual storytelling. You get the complete overview of the public debate around the program, around the channel, but of course it could also be used by media organizations as a service to their clients. For example, consumer brands run an advertising campaign and would like to know if their campaign has been successful, how it was being perceived. So beyond the typical audience metrics, how many people have seen this ad, we can now use these technologies also to track what was the public debate surrounding this campaign, or for example, what type of emotions has it triggered over time. Last but not least, most of our recent work has focused on predictive capabilities. Everything I've shown so far was looking at the past and the present online debate, but at the same time, there's a lot of knowledge contained in the public debate that already points to future events. So there's a lot of debate already about elections that are upcoming, about future events, for example, related to the coronavirus. So all this knowledge is readily available. We aggregate this in knowledge and can then run the same type of analysis on future events, what you have seen now and on past events. And that allows to answer questions such as what is the best time to send out a press release? What is the best time to use existing video from the archive and broadcast it again, for example? What is the best time, which week, for example, to run a certain ad campaign, because then it resonates well with the anticipated emotions in that particular week. So this already sums up this little introduction. On the last slide, you find some additional information on the platform and its applications. So I look forward to your questions either now or then later. We have separate sessions, but of course also if you have more detailed questions, I'm more than happy to answer them offline. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just waiting for. Yes, there I am again. Thank you so much. I'm of course. I always ask the first question. Yes, applause.
Good.
Johan asked for it in the chat, so we all applause at home. Drink our coffees. What is the most surprising thing you found so far? I mean, is there any research results that came out that were like, oh, I didn't expect that? Because of course, a lot of these tracking services reflect a little bit what we know, more or less. But okay, it's nice to see it confirmed. But what are surprising results from doing this?
Yes, I agree. And this, I think what you just mentioned, actually, maybe just to repeat the why was the intention we did the research in this REtv project when we started. What you just mentioned was exactly why we went into this prediction, because we said, well, you know, what we can find in the current debate, a lot of people who are already following the public debate are aware of these issues. So what we don't tell them, so what doesn't surprise them, for example, what were the major issues the last 7 days? If they follow it intensively, they are aware of that. What we can do is two things now. We can put this into the framework of the human emotions. So what you might only know as anecdotal evidence, now we have a structured framework to actually break this down into all these 24 emotions and compare the emotions in the various subsamples. So we just
you can match the emotions both to specific events, as to specific media sources, as to specific discussions, conversations going.
What was really interesting was that the acceptance was really high, and also it stayed high during the whole month. So people were, of course, fearful, and they were not happy with the current situation. But at the same time, the acceptance level was really high, and you only had certain peaks. For example, fear and sadness was when there was a lot of coverage on Italy, for example. Or Easter. Easter was at a time where all the emotions were really going up on all the dimensions, because, you know, there was like, you know, what does it mean? Can we now not visit our relatives, etc.? So it was very interesting. Sometimes also how the emotions, one emotion might trigger the others. First you have interest, and then you see there's a press conference, and then you see exactly, well, this is now, you know, either accepted or you actually have amplified people not feeling comfortable.
I can imagine this as a tool. I mean, the positive use would be, you know, to better serve your media and you know, make better media. But this is obviously also a tool that can be used by anybody with terrible plans. You know, find the people that are fearful or locate fear and play to that fear. And are you worried about that?
That is principally true, but there are two things. I mean, we have no personal data at all. So of course, now when you talk about human emotions, we all think of like recent stories where people didn't deal with all the data in the most responsible manner. So this is very different. We are only using anonymous public information. So it's not like, you know, any user profiles. There's no individual behind it. It's on a very aggregated level. Yeah. And in a way, we are trying to actually combat them, because we create more transparency, because using that system, you see also misrepresentations, you see bias, and you see who are the opinion leaders who are contributing to that bias. Yeah. But of course, you know, your argument is correct. You know, every tool you can use and misuse, but there are, as part of, I think it's a European Commission funded project, so we have a lot of, you know, we have like our own ethics, work packages and tasks. So there are a lot of safeguards in here. That, you know, we don't use any personal information, but then of course that also it's used to increase transparency and not to just amplify someone's agenda.
It's not a criticism of the tool per se. It's just a development where our online world, our media know our feelings and our sentiments as a community or as an individual. I'm just going to turn to the audience now. Guys, you're listening to this. There's 97 of you around. Who has a question? And if you have a question, John Lake has a question. John, would you mind asking it yourself? Because we want to try out this, right? So if you unmute your sound or even your video, both, would you ask
Yep, I will add my video also.
Yeah, I like that. I like to see who is in the house. Yeah.
Just a minute. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear me well now.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'm curious how webLyzard technology is able to create profiles, anonymous profiles of users based on user input, perhaps even connected to the thing you mentioned about empathy and emotions. Could you say something about it?
So most or all of our analysis are not tied to individuals. So we don't do any user profiling at all. So we don't know the genders, the demographics. What we do is we compare the channels. We can tell how is the Twitter debate different from the YouTube debate, for example, or how are US media different from UK media in the coverage. But it's always on a channel basis and never goes down to the individual ones. And I saw your comment in the sidebar. It's also we are measuring the content production, so it's not the content consumption. So if we get content consumption, we ingest through an API. I've shown this example where we have the page views and the visits, or in the REtv project we have the number of viewers of a particular channel that we ingest through an API. But these audience metrics, they're always provided by a third party, whereas we are analyzing the content part of it and the public debate. And maybe that leads also good to your second part of your question, who are the potential target groups? Of course, on the one hand, these are media organizations. This is also what the REtv project is all about. Actually, in several steps of the content value chain, that can actually go from journalistic work for journalists using the tool to get a better overview of the debate, to understand all the facets of the coverage, to understand hidden biases in the coverage, for example. Mm-hmm. But of course, also in program planning, especially in conjunction with the prediction services, what type of new programming do we actually anticipate will have the highest impact? When are we going to send a specific program to achieve the highest impact? How are we promoting that? And all these services that, of course, media organizations can use for their own workflows and to support their own services could be potential services to the clients. I've already mentioned, if you have an ad client and consumer brand, this is something where, we provide you a better type of report on the impact of your campaign, because you're not only getting the numbers, but you also get the story and, what was happening actually in the various places.